finally got this up and running. Hopefully that won't happen again. Apologies for the mix-up. Just going to jump straight into it. First of all, I am so over the moon with just the support you guys have given me. The reason I'm doing this live stream, if some of you aren't aware, is we are now 7.5 thousand people strong. This is something that I think, if you told me when we started this that this would be what it is, I just wouldn't have been able to fathom it. So first of all, thank you so much for all the support you guys give. This is one of those things where I just really hope that this community grows. The question you guys ask, the support you guys give along this calisthenics journey is something that is not only just motivating to me, but I see in the comments you guys all helping each other as well, and that's something that you just cannot get over. So first of all, thank you for that. Jumping straight into this live stream, we have a fair few questions today. A lot of them seem to be based on the pull-up, but we have a few things around calisthenics skills. We have a few things around staying lean. We have a few things about lifestyle. So I'm just going to jump straight into it. The first question I got on Instagram was around my why, where we find motivation and why I do what I do, maybe the why behind fitness as well. This is a really simple answer. Honestly, I think just the ability to move, the ability to control your own body, the ability to exercise is actually a really big blessing. There are so many people out there that can't walk to the shop, that if they need to get milk, they need to ask someone else. If they want to have a shower, they need to ask someone else. Your fitness, without your fitness, you have nothing. So that why becomes very simple. I think balancing it with lifestyle and whatnot, I think that's one of those things where if you have kids, if you have family, if you have other commitments, a lot of people, you know, hustle porn stars will tell you, you need to do everything. You need to be lean, you need to have a good job, you need to have good relationships, you need to balance all of these things simultaneously. And the fact of the matter is, those are all different phases of life, and sometimes you'll find that those conflict, sometimes you'll find that those complement each other. So don't worry too much about that. As long as you've got a solid enough why am I going to the gym? Is it just because I want to get lean for a beach holiday? Honestly, that's not, I'm not slagging people off who, if that is your goal, but is that going to be a big enough motivator to get you out on a really cold Thursday night in December? I don't know, maybe not, it wouldn't be for me. So yeah, that's the why question, really, when it comes to me. I've got another question around training expectations. So the expectations that you should think of when you start calisthenics training. I think when you look at social media and when you look at, I don't want to be another person that just slags off social media, because I think social media has a really good place for motivating people to get into this form of training. But when you look at it, a lot of the people that do calisthenics on social media are in a league of their own. I saw a video of someone backflipping into a full planche, which is unreal, you know. And when you see that, that might, you know, it might influence your expectations of calisthenics. I, for example, know that when I started calisthenics, I thought the LSIT, the skill that I learned first, was going to be an absolute cakewalk, and it wasn't. I think when it comes to calisthenics expectations, your expectations will always be tempered by what you try and do. So from my point of view, I have tried to do so many things in calisthenics that my expectations are always going to be roughly accurate based on what I know I can do. I know my pulling strength, I know my pushing strength, I know my aptitude with particular skills. So it's not going to be too much of a leap to say, okay, I know this year I want to get front lever. That's one of my goals for this year, front lever. So roughly, I can set a really rough time scale of what I think it will take me to get to a skill like the front lever. Now, the problem becomes when you become so fixated on that time, that specific time. So I want to get front lever by X date, that sometimes if you don't get there, that can be really disheartening. And sometimes you really got to take yourself back. Having time-specific goals is really important. It allows us to really work hard towards getting to a place where you can really push yourself. But if you aren't really enjoying that journey, then sometimes that might be what stops you from actually achieving the skill in the end. The handstand took me well over a year, and I thought it would take me a couple of months. Again, my expectations were mismanaged. So when it comes to expectations, try a lot of things, have fewer goals, but ultimately what you'll find is that the further along this calisthenics journey you get, you will find that your expectations when it comes to calisthenics skills slowly become more and more accurate, because you get a really good understanding of, okay, this skill, it looks easy on paper, but actually it is damn hard. So I want to get onto these pull-up questions because I got a lot of them, and it seems like the pull-up is something that you guys are struggling with. A lot of people seem to be struggling with. I've got a couple of pull-up videos already on the channel. I've got a biggie coming up this summer. I say this summer, it's coming up in a couple of weeks. But with the pull-up, this is a skill that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of the people as well, I think, that have messaged me about this, about the pull-up also, the majority of them are women. And women tend to be stronger at pushing than they are pulling anyway. So, and I'll caveat that by saying the pull-up is already a really difficult exercise. It's a really challenging exercise. So when you come to a skill like the pull-up, one of the first questions I got was, why is the pull-up taking me so long to achieve? I think with that one, a lot of people when they start doing pull-ups, they might not already have that base level of strength to even learn the skill in the first place. And what do I mean by this? A lot of people will do pull-ups, they'll get a band, and they'll just start doing pull-ups. That's fine, but if you don't have a really good aptitude just generally when it comes to body control, so I can hold myself on a bar and just hold myself there for a matter of seconds, even if it's like 15 seconds, you will struggle to then introduce any form of movement when it comes to doing pull-ups on a bar like that. If you struggle to hold tension throughout your body while you're holding your weight on a bar, then that's another thing that you'll really struggle with. Contrast this with an exercise like the push-up. The push-up, again, is an exercise that a lot of people seem to struggle with, but you've got your feet on the ground. With your feet on the ground, you're in a position where you can actually build more stability from the bottom up as well as the top down. When you've got that, it becomes a lot easier. The problem with a skill like the pull-up is, if you don't have those mechanics that allow you to create that tension throughout your whole body, then you're already learning from a place of you're learning from behind the eight ball. So that would be my first thing when it comes to learning how to do a pull-up, would be learn to create tension while just holding the bar. Just hold the bar. If you've been trying to learn to do pull-ups for a really long time, you might also just be getting generally frustrated. My advice in that would be, go and do something else. Go and work on something else. Still work on your pulling movements, but go and do something else. Sometimes you just do need to go away, forget about this thing that you've been grinding away at for a really long time. And when I say a long time, I don't mean a couple of weeks. I'm talking about, I've been trying to learn how to pull up for a year and a half. I don't feel like I've made any progress. I think at that point, then maybe just go and do something else. And the other thing I'd like to introduce here is speaking to professionals when it comes to things like speaking to personal trainers, so people that have taught other people how to do pull-ups. Sometimes YouTube can only take you so far, and I know I'm saying this as somebody that creates YouTube videos. Sometimes YouTube can only take you so far. Getting to a point where you can literally chat to somebody who has gone on that journey, somebody who not only has learned to pull up themselves, but also has taught other people how to do pull-ups. Sometimes that can be the thing that gets you over the edge. Having a really good teacher, somebody with a real heart of a teacher, not somebody that's looking to get the money out of your wallet, somebody that genuinely believes that they can teach you how to do the thing you want to do, that can be really encouraging as well. So don't hold yourself back on if that's something you want to do as well. I just want to quickly go on to another thing that has been brought up with me when it comes to pull-up is elbow pain. Now, joint pain, generally, just any form of pain, you probably should check out a physio professional to diagnose what it is that you're doing wrong that is causing pain. When it comes to pull-ups though, especially when people are learning how to do pull-ups, elbow pain does become extremely common. And the reason for this is you are working at the maximum capacity that you can do. You can't do a pull-up yet. So every training session that you go in to do, and you're trying to do a pull-up, or do banded pull-ups, or jackknife pull-ups, or whatever, pull-up negatives, whatever progression you're trying to do, you're doing that training session essentially at you're doing a strength session essentially. You're working probably at lower rep ranges. You're working at rep ranges where maybe your connective tissue isn't getting a decent supply of blood and oxygen. So you're getting to a place where you might not you might not be getting the recovery that you need in order to sustain that long term. I think for me, if that is you and you're starting to experience elbow pain, one of two things. So the first thing, go and see a physio. That's really important. Some of these things can become really chronic, especially in the elbows and the shoulders. You don't want that. The other thing would be work in the lower rep ranges. Work in the rep ranges that allow you to get to 10 to 12 reps. You know, so work on your jackknife pull-ups. Work on a resistance band pull-up where the band takes off half of your weight. You know, work on all these things that get you to a point where you can really build up that motor pattern awareness to perform an exercise like the pull-up. And then the final question that got thrown in at me is, how do you stay lean all year round? This is an interesting question because it took me a while to get to a particular level of leanness. Is that a word? I don't know. But if you get to a point where you feel happy with where you are, maintaining that does actually become quite simple. I know, for example, that I don't really need to try to stay lean now that I'm there, but it took me, the best part of 15 years to get there. The caveat I'll say with all of this is, please don't think that everyone you see on Instagram, YouTube, or whatnot is as lean as they are in that video 24/7. All of my videos I film in the morning. I have a particular level of leanness in the morning. A lot of you will know that the moment you drink a glass of water or have breakfast in the morning, sometimes, you know, you feel lean in the morning. By the afternoon, you don't feel that lean. All of my videos are in the morning, and I mentioned this in vlogs before. If you go on somebody's Instagram, please don't think that they are that lean all the time. I've just come off the back of a holiday where I've eaten lovely food. I've been in the Caribbean, but the food there is particularly salty, which means there's a level of water retention that might mean I'm not as lean as I would have otherwise been. This is one of those things where I think being lean all year round, once you do get to a particular level of leanness, it is quite easy to maintain. But the first thing I did want to specifically shout out was, please don't think that everyone stays that lean. In terms of once you are that level of leanness though, human me, let's say you do want to maintain leanness all year round, it does become a matter of doing the good things the majority of the time. So how often are you eating protein? How often are you eating vegetables? How often are you eating real food? I don't really personally eat a lot of processed stuff. That's not really something that happens to me. When I eat treats, I eat a lot of them, but that happens so few and far between that it doesn't really affect my aesthetic. More to the point is as well that I do a lot of steady state cardio. I don't go for runs, but I personally find that when I get my step count, for example, above 16k steps a day consistently, walking seems to have a phenomenal effect on my ability to stay lean. I know this for a fact because I've done it for years. So, find what works for you. For me, it's steady state cardio and walking lots. For me, it's eating proper food. For me, it's being cognizant of what, those systems that allow you to stay lean. But for you, it might be different. For you, it might be, I don't know, making sure that you are, I don't know, doing HIIT. I know a lot of people find a lot of value out of doing HIIT. I personally don't like HIIT. You're never going to catch me in a HIIT session. It's very personal for different people, and that's why I think so many people on YouTube struggle to find the answer that they want when they watch videos like how to get lean in 30 days or how to get lean for someone. So one person don't directly correlate to somebody else. So again, just to summarize, be cognizant that everything you see on social media is that all year round. In fact, I know a lot of people that they film a lot of their content in January and do a lot of their photos that, they front load a lot of their content, and then they're not lean until the next year, So again, just be really cognizant that what you see might not be entirely accurate. Again, not crapping on anyone. I think we've got a few questions coming through on the chat. So my lovely wife is going to read them out.
Yeah, so we've got someone that is a beginner in calisthenics. They've been training for about 3 months and they're not making much progress yet. They're wanting to learn the handstand, the frog stand and the L-sit. Do you have any advice for them?
Sure, that is a really good question and something that is not actually too uncommon. When it comes to calisthenics skills over a short period of time, a lot of the problem does become strength. If you're not strong enough to just do the skill in the first place, it sounds harsh, but if you're not strong enough to do the skill, then it's hard to learn the thing. With the handstand, can you hold yourself up against the wall? If you can, then that's a huge win. With the frog stand, that is a strange position a lot of people struggle with. Then, you're going to struggle to get to a point where you can actually do that thing. With the L-sit, if you don't have the pike flexibility to hold yourself just sat in an L shape, you will struggle to do the L-sit. The one thing I'll say about all those 3 skills though is that they all are very similar. You are you're essentially pushing down with straight arms on the ground. Maybe not straight arms with the frog stand, but you're pressing down with the ground. Is some form of hand balance. Your feet are off the floor and you're pushing down with the ground. With all those 3 skills, I would say just maybe go through a 2-month period where you're literally just doing your push-ups, your dips, your pike push-ups, and again, obviously, to balance that out, make sure you're doing your inverted rows and some form of vertical pulling, banded pull-ups, etc. But coming back to those 4 patterns of movement will almost always have phenomenal benefits for your ability to do skills down the line. If you're struggling to do frog stand, L-sit, and handstand as well, what you might actually also be struggling with is trying to learn too many similar skills at the same time. If you get to a point where you can do an L-sit, you'll probably find that then doing a frog stand becomes really easy. So if you focus and really hone in on an L-sit, then work on the frog stand, then that might actually be really beneficial for you. So really great question, and just keep going for it.
Then we have one from Mike. He wants to gain muscles, so he follows a muscle diet where he does a calorie surplus. But how many calories does he have to eat to achieve this surplus?
Ooh, really, really good question. Really, really good question. Mike, first of all, you've been a commenter on this channel for a long time, so shout out, Mike. With calorie surpluses, building muscle, these are such personal questions that it's actually really difficult for me to give you a specific answer without knowing a little bit more about you. But I'll try my best. Generally, if you want to build muscle, try and build it slowly. If you're in a position where you are eating good food, you're getting your protein in, you're doing the exercises that you know will lead to you building muscle. So working in the 10 to 12 rep ranges, you're working on exercises, you know, your big compound lifts, pull-ups, push-ups, dips, etc. Then you are already going to be really, really well suited to building muscle. If you want to be in a calorie surplus, I personally will only inch my calories up by 2, maybe 300 calories. Why that number? Calisthenics is all about strength to weight ratio. If you try to build muscle aggressively quickly, it becomes very difficult to make sure that that muscle is lean muscle. If I slap on a 1,000 calorie surplus daily, what I'm going to find is I put on a lot of muscle, but I put on a lot of fat really quickly. You may find that that is just not sustainable for your ability to do calisthenic skills. 2 summers ago, I tried to put on a lot of muscle really, really quickly. I ended up putting on a lot of weight, but not all of it was lean. I noticed how difficult it was to do pull-ups, to do even the most basic of exercises. And that is what I really, really struggled with. So I personally, if I'm going to give you a really broad answer, Mike, I personally would say inch your calories up, maybe for like 4 odd weeks, get on MyFitnessPal, document what you're eating. I know it's a pain. I know it's not what most people want to hear. Document what you're eating for a short period of time, so you understand at least specifically what it is you're doing. Nudge your calories up by 2, maybe 300 calories. Make sure that you're working in the higher rep ranges, and the muscle will come. You just have to be really patient about it. It's frustrating, but the slow and steady in calisthenics, you tend to find that it will trump anything big bang and rapid that might not have optimal outcomes in the long term. Thanks again, Mike.
Then we have another question from Imran and Damien, who are asking, why are pike push-ups so hard?
Why are pike push-ups so hard? A favorite exercise of mine. Pike push-ups, one of the main reasons they're so hard is you're working in a position that it's not normal. First of all, a lot of people don't have the pike flexibility in the hips. You're essentially like this, and you're doing a push-up up and down with your hips essentially in a V shape. It's difficult. Most form of overhead pushing is difficult, but the crux of it is when it comes to pike push-ups specifically, or any form of overhead pushing, specifically in calisthenics, handstand push-ups, pike, you may find that you can do ridiculous weighted dips. Why are you struggling to do pike push-ups? You may find that your overhead mobility is just not there. When you do a pike push-up and you get your shoulders over the arms, your elbows over your head, essentially, you just might not have the range of motion to really lock out the arms in a pike push-up. So work on your overhead mobility, work on your pike mobility. Again, 2 videos that I've already got on the channel. I'll link them down below as well. But work on your overhead mobility, that would probably drastically increase your pike push-ups. And just generally, also, work on your push-ups. With your push-ups, they drastically transfer over into your ability to do pike push-ups. So yeah, I think just keep going at it. They're hard, and if they were easy, everyone would do it. But the benefits to them are phenomenal. You get to handstand push-ups from pike push-ups. You get to frog to handstands from pike push-ups. You get to frog stands from pike push-ups. There's a lot of value to being persistent. They are hard. It is what it is.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions. Do we have time for 2 more?
Let's take 2 last ones, and we'll go for it.
Okay.
I'll answer anything else in the chat afterwards, or in the comments afterwards.
So we have Olivia. She's asking, how do I train for strength, specifically in calisthenics, as a beginner?
Yes. So as a beginner, first of all, strength, everything is strength. If you're a beginner in calisthenics and you're new to the whole thing, everything you do is strength. If you can't do a pull-up, and you're working at higher rep ranges, the ability to do one more resistance band pull-up or the ability to do even one more jackknife pull-up is strength. So when you're a beginner, separating strength, hypertrophy, endurance isn't really a thing. And this is why, for beginners, I personally would recommend staying in that high rep range. I've said that a lot today, but that's just the truth. If you are, if you've been doing calisthenics for a relatively short period of time, like you have, Olivia, then I would stick to that high rep range. You'll find that you will build a lot of competency in the really basic motor patterns. Again, push-ups, dips, pull-ups, inverted rows. Once you build competency in that and you have really good efficiency in those movements, you create tension really well. You are working at, those higher rep ranges, and you're working in a position where you really can get to a point where you can hit those movements and they feel good. You will know because you'll get even a resistance band pull up. You will do it and you will know it just feels great for you. That's when you know that you are, you're building strength. I'd say do that for about, this is very arbitrary, but do that for a solid 4 months, higher rep ranges. Once you've got to that point, that's when I'd start to introduce your more nuanced exercises, negatives, to be fair, isometrics as well. That's when I'd start to introduce your more specific strength work. So you're doing a pull-up, slowly come down as slow as you can, 15 seconds at least. You're doing a push-up, but you can't do one. Stick a weight that you cannot move on your back and try and push off the ground. Those more nuanced skills is how you tend to build strength in calisthenics as a beginner. As a more intermediate and advanced athlete, it becomes a lot easier because you essentially either slap on weight or you change the lever, but it's very hard to do that for a beginner. As a beginner, I can't tell you go and do L-sit pull-ups to build strength. That's just not realistic. So the difference between beginner and intermediate / advanced is going to be quite large, but don't let that frustrate you. And we've got time for one more question, and then everything else I'll jump in the chat afterwards.
We've got one more and a bonus question that's
a bit cheeky.
Quite relevant to you. So first question, is it normal to go from arc to hollow body during rings pull-up?
Uh-huh.
And then the second bonus question is someone has started calisthenics and his friends are telling him not to play football as they think that cardio is not good when pursuing calisthenics. Okay, cool. So going from hollow to arch position in ring pull-ups. First of all, with rings, with any aspect of rings, your body is moving all over the place. If you are creating tension in any way, shape or form, you are doing well. With ring pull-ups, if you get to a point where your arms are fully extended, you will probably find that at that point, your back is arched. And then at the top of the rings, because of the way rings are, with the standard pull-up bar, your hands are in front of your face. With rings, they're probably in line with your head. So it encourages a more hollow position. And as well, with ring pull-ups, sometimes you turn your hands in because you can freely move your hands on rings. I think it's fine. Like, I personally don't have anything wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. That movement, that position of going from arch to hollow is also something that is really good for ring muscle-ups. You'll find that people do ring muscle-ups and their body moves, it gets to a point where you've gone from arched and you end up, creating that thoracic flexion in your upper spine to get over the bar. Nothing wrong with it. I'd just say temper all of that movement with just creating tension. You don't want to be swinging all over the shop. Just make sure that, you're getting to a point where
your core is tight, your legs are together, your legs are tight. Yeah, keep it tight. And the question around football, sport and calisthenics, generally, it's not a good thing. I personally do a lot of football, and it's very challenging. If you want to get to calisthenic skills rapidly, honestly, it will be tough. But, and here's a big but, I personally have found a lot of benefit to my ability to stay lean, my ability to stay focused, when I play football, because I love football and I love calisthenics. You wouldn't think with football it's high intensity sprints. Essentially, it's shuttle running after a ball a lot, which means you build really thick quads. I have really thick quads, and I felt it when I was learning to back lever. I felt it. I struggled. Even when I know I'm about to learn to start my front lever day zero. Really sneak peek into what's coming up next, guys. But I'm about to start my front lever day zero, and I toyed around with the front lever while I've been on holiday, and whew, I know I'm going to struggle with that one because of my footballer legs. But I think just to blanket say, don't do football is quite a is quite a narrow-minded view, because you will find that sports and just general training, there's a lot of overlap. I find my body balance in football has drastically improved because of my ability to control my body from calisthenics. My ability in calisthenics has drastically improved in certain spaces because I have a better tolerance for my ability to train, because in football it's intense. If you run intensely, then you can train intensely. So, you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Try not to let, the only thing I'll say, try not to let your football, I guess, impact your ability to recover. Because I used to find that I really struggled to train after a particularly heavy football session, you know, so just try and balance it all. And that's pretty much it, guys. I just want to say again, a huge thank you for the support on the channel. This has been something that I've done for years now. 2 years I think I've been on this channel. You guys make it what it is, and I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you. So again, all the questions today, all the support that you guys give is really genuinely phenomenal. So thank you, and guys, I will see you very soon. Got a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next one. Catch you soon.